Hello. Hey, hello. Masochist with autism here, and today we're going to be playing Fallout 4, but I can't let the game be normal because why the fuck would I? So we're going to be beating the game with the only weapon I'm able to use being my bare fucking hands. But to be more specific, the only weapon I am allowed to use to damage enemies is going to be the unarmed weapon given to me when I have no weapons equipped, also known as my bare hands. I will not be allowed to use guns, I will not be allowed to use any form of melee weapon, I will not even be allowed to use dynamite or mines. I will only be killing people with my bare hands throughout the duration of this entire playthrough. There isn't much else to the challenge, so let's just hop right into it. To begin, we must create the perfect man. To start, I made his beautiful face. Then, after waiting for the Vault Tech representative to arrive, it was time to start assigning special points and give our hero a name. For special stats, he got 9 strength, 1 perception, 7 endurance, 1 charisma, 1 intelligence, 4 agility, and 5 luck. The reason I went with these is, for strength, I needed to give him higher melee damage. With the endurance, a lot of combat is gonna be me enduring a lot of hits, so we're gonna want to be real tanky. And then the 1 intelligence and 5 luck is just so that we can have high idiot savant, because we're gonna need as many levels as possible. And for his name, I named him the lovely title of Jerry the Fister. To begin our journey, we did all of the beginning of game stuff. You know, bombs drop, house destroyed, life is ruined, you know, all that good stuff. A scientist freezes me in cryostasis to stop me from taking over the world. Wife is murdered, child stolen, I get woken up 200 years later, you know, all the usual. After this, I go explore the vault and kill a bunch of rad roaches, almost pick up a baton, but then realize I won't be able to put it back down, so I don't. Go find a dead guy, steal his Pip-Boy, open the vault door, and then probably go back into the vault. Why did I do this? Well, the answer is simple. Later, when I get into the wasteland and find a vendor, I can take all those weapons and all those bullets, and I can sell them. We'll get more into that later in the run. So we finally escape the vault and enter the wasteland, beginning our journey in Sanctuary. Upon arriving in Sanctuary, the first thing I did was scrap all of the stuff in Sanctuary and start building fences. The reason behind this is simple. I need XP. And for those who don't know, every time you build a fence, you get a small amount of XP. But with Idiot Savant occasionally multiplying that by 3 and the amount of fences I can place down, I can get a lot of XP just from placing fences. So about 20 minutes of placing fences later, I left Sanctuary at level 7. Then, after finishing my XP grinding with fences in Sanctuary, I left for Red Rocket. There I would meet Dogmeat, and try my best to get rid of him, and then realize I can't. The reason I tried getting rid of Dogmeat is because he could end up killing enemies, and I don't want to deal with people saying this run is invalid because of that. So I dismissed Dogmeat and started taking stuff from Red Rocket. But while I was exhibiting signs of a hoarding disorder, I got attacked by a group of mole rats. So I sighed and spent about 30 seconds beating about 6 mole rats to death, and after finishing the last of them off, I headed to Concord to go find Preston. As I enter Concord, I hear gunshots in the distance and find Preston having a shootout with the raiders. I run up and start beating the raiders to death, and am pleasantly surprised by the amount of damage the fists do to these low-level raiders, taking only maybe 3 to 4 hits to take down a regular raider, which is pretty good. So after killing everyone outside the museum, Preston asks me to come help inside and tosses me a laser musket, which I steal, mostly just so I can sell it later. I go inside and continue to beat raiders to death, and am still pleasantly surprised by the amount of damage I do, to the point that I double-checked the difficulty I'm on because it felt way too easy, but alas, I'm still on normal. After about 5 minutes of beating people to death, I find Preston and his gang hid up in this room at the top of the building. I talk to them, Preston instantly starts complaining and telling me about how hard his life is. I listen to him only so I can figure out how to steal from him. And then Sturgis tells me about something beautiful, a fusion core in the basement, and some power armor on the roof. They want me to go get this fusion core and then go up onto the roof and use that power armor to kill everyone outside. No problem, I say, as I run downstairs to hack a terminal while having 1 intelligence. To the surprise of no one, with 1 intelligence, I would spend the next 3 to 4 minutes just sitting here, trying to hack the terminal, failing, standing in front of the terminal for 10 seconds, hacking the terminal, failing again, standing in front of the terminal for 10 seconds, doing something with levels I forgot about, and then continuing this cycle until eventually I managed to get lucky and hack the gate open. Now that the gate was open, I was welcome to steal this lovely core of fusion and would run up to the roof and grab myself a lovely suit of power armor. Now that I have acquired the power armor, it is time to take the fight to the raiders. I grab the minigun and jump off of the building, landing in the street where the battle begins. In the midst of the violence against the raiders, a sewer grate jostles loose and a deathclaw emerges. Now am I saying I beat a deathclaw to death with my bare hands? Yes. Yes, I am. After defeating the Deathclaw, I cleared up the last of the raiders and went inside of the Museum of Freedom to talk to Preston. I start talking to Preston and resist the urge to start bullying him immediately. Preston then pays me for killing all those raiders and fighting a Deathclaw, and I lie through my teeth telling him that I would absolutely go to Sanctuary, when instead I would not be going to Sanctuary for a long, long time. Right as I was about to leave and go run off into the wilderness and fistfight a bunny for its own skin, a 60-year-old meth head tries talking to me. At first, I marked them off as insane and thought nothing of them, and then they started ranting about this Diamond City off in the distance.
I had to find it.
So they marked it on my map, and I promptly ran off into the wilderness in search for Diamond City. Immediately upon leaving the Museum of Freedom in Concord, I encounter a small group of raiders roasting marshmallows over a campfire. But they won't share with me, so I had to beat them to death. After killing those raiders, I would soon find Trudy's diner, and 2 suspicious individuals standing outside it. I could have used my words to reason with them, but they were just so damn terrifying that I panicked, beat them to death, and sold their corpses for money. After that run-in with Wolfgang, I would encounter Cambridge Police Station, or accurately, a distress call coming from it. What did they want me to do? Beat the elderly to death, which, you know what? I'm fine with. After beating a nursery home to death, I was compensated with XP, and Dance wanted to talk to me, so of course I ran off into the wilderness. Yeah, I did not talk to Dance, I just kind of ran away. Only a few minutes after I panicked and ran away would I encounter a weird boat that seems to have a bunch of people on it. After further inspection, I realized those were not people, those were raiders, and they needed to all die. So I would struggle to beat about 12 raiders to death, one of which was in power armor, but in the end I would succeed, steal all of their stuff, and leave for Diamond City. Now finally, Diamond City was within sight. I could literally see the pathway to the gates. So of course, I immediately took a small detour to beat some super mutants to death. It took about 15 minutes, but I murdered a handful of super mutants, stole all their shit, and, yeah. But after that small detour, I would arrive at the gates, and be greeted by an annoying fucking newswoman. God, if I could kill Piper, I fucking would, because, God, they're annoying. Sadly, there is no way into Diamond City without reasoning with Piper, so I resist the urge to blow their skull open and enter Diamond City. Though, I spare no time in bullying Piper. But after about a half hour of shenanigans, we're finally here. Diamond City. Upon entering Diamond City, the first thing I did was sell all of the junk I had collected from the many, many things I had killed on the journey to Diamond City. Now, with a delicious 250 caps and a much emptier inventory, I went back to Sanctuary. Why did I do this, you may ask? Well, to go talk to Preston. Now, the reason I'm talking with Preston is because in this run, we're going to side with the Minutemen. Now, anyone who's played Fallout 4 just screamed at their monitor, "Why would you do this? This is an objectively bad choice." But hear me out. In this run, there are a few perks that can increase our damage, which we desperately need. Because unless we are over-leveled for everything, we are not going to be powerful enough to do most missions. Because of this, we're going to need a lot of levels. And to get those levels, we're going to need a lot of XP, and there is one faction that gives you a great source of XP. The Minutemen, because their whole thing is that they will give you a lot, and I mean a lot, of settlement quests. Quite literally an infinite amount of settlement quests. And they are all relatively easy to do. It is mostly, go to X place, kill X thing, go back to Preston. Because of this, the Minutemen give us a great opportunity for getting a lot of XP grinding done, so that when we actually get to the main story of the game, we will be way over leveled for it, meaning we are going to be just powerful enough to contend with these enemies. So, I talked to Preston, and he gave me a quest to go talk to the people at 10 Pines Bluff. On the way there, I beat up a gang of raiders and fist fought a dog for its garbage, but I was at 10 Pines Bluff in no time. After talking with the settlers there, I was given the objective to go to Corvega and kill all of the raiders inside. Easy peasy. So, I traveled to College Square, because it was the closest place I had to Corvega, and I didn't want to travel that far. And, arriving in College Square, there were a lot of feral ghouls. So I fought them, and immediately died. So I loaded a save, tried again, and did not fuck up this time. After that, I ran all the way to Corvega, which actually wasn't that long, it was maybe a minute of traveling. But now that I was at Corvega, I had to kill all the raiders outside, which I did, and I stole all their stuff. Then I went inside Corvega, and killed all the raiders inside, and stole all their stuff. And the last step of this quest was to find this raider called Jared, which I found on the top floor. Now the fight itself wasn't that hard. I killed all the raiders on the bottom floor and regular ground level, and then I got stuck because I'm a moron. I needed to extend this platform to get up to where Jared is. I am apparently fucking blind because I did not see this obvious button on the platform. So after multiple minutes of just running around and trying to figure out what to do and all of that, I finally decided to jump the gap. Yeah, I never figured out what to do with that button. But I made it up to Jared and beat him to death in like 2 seconds, finished off the rest of the raiders, stole all their stuff, and left Corvega. And of course, the moment I left Corvega, Fallout broke. Yeah, it glitched and I had to restart the game. But upon reloading the game, I went back to 10 Pines Bluff, they congratulated me for my work, I went back to Sanctuary to talk to Preston, he congratulated me for my work, and then gave me another quest. Now, while the Minutemen quests may have taken the most time out of basically everything in this playthrough, I'm going to boil it down into probably the next 15 to 30 seconds. Because like I said, all of the Minutemen quests follow the very same formula. Go to X location, kill X thing. Meaning, they're all kind of the same after the first, 3. So if I detailed to you all 20-something Minutemen quests I did before realizing I didn't have to do any more, you'd get real bored. So I'm not going to do that. So just assume that from this point till about a little bit after the castle, I'm doing Minutemen quests in the background. Got it? Okay. Moving on. Now between Minutemen quests, I was going back to Diamond City to sell all the stuff I collected, and this is where I learned one of the nice perks of doing this playthrough. Because my weapon of choice is my fists, I don't have to worry about ammunition or guns, meaning I can just sell them all. Meaning, basically every job nets me a minimum of 500 to 1,000 caps. Essentially, I am the wasteland version of Jeff Bezos, which makes my life a lot easier because I can afford all the stim packs and drugs in the world, which are the things I actually need. After nearly a full hour of committing random murders across the entire wasteland, I stumble into a bar in Goodneighbor. To the shock of no one, I spend half my money on booze to help with strength and also to numb the pain of existence. But as I'm about to drink enough alcohol to kill an elephant, this robot lets me in on a little secret. He has a client who wants some people dead, and better yet, he's paying top dollar for it. No problem. After spending 15 minutes extorting him for money, I head outside, drink a lot of booze, and then run into the nearest building that contains these targets. This is where I would discover the power of alcohol, as I proceeded to 1 or 2 shot all of the enemies in this building. Holy God! Because turns out when I drink all sorts of alcohol, I can get my strength and endurance up to 14. Holy shit! Meaning I do an absolute assload of damage and absolutely Shrek everything in this building. Afterwards, the alcohol wore off, meaning I walked back into the bar, hunched over in pain and barely able to stand, carrying more weight than I should, and I told him that I had killed everyone he wanted me to. So he gave me an easy 400 caps, and I went back on my murder spree. Now, I had a long segment planned explaining exactly why the castle was the worst part of this fucking run, but it honestly droned on, and I can explain it in the next 3 sentences. This 15-minute battle took me 45 minutes. Mirelurks are more tanky than they should have been. A Mirelurk Queen showed up, which you cannot melee. See this clip for proof. Beep beep beep, fish you. Super quality scanning sounds, bullshit analysis noises. Da ding.
I'm coming for you! Oh!
What the hell?
Ah!
Oh no.
You suck! Ah! Ah!
And I mostly had this one Minuteman do all the chip damage on this thing, and then I got one final punch in so that it technically wasn't him who killed it. That's all there really is to this battle, that and Preston getting launched several miles away for some reason. Thank you, Bethesda. But after that 45-minute battle, it ended. I eventually got Preston back to the castle and talked to him, did the weird stuff at the castle, and then I went back to Diamond City. After I sold all my stuff in Diamond City, I then immediately went off and did an hour and 20 minutes of Minutemen quests that you do not want to see. But while I was doing that, I eventually got a call telling me to head off to the castle to go meet with someone. I arrived and was met by a dirt-encrusted woman named Ronnie. They told me they needed help getting into the armory underneath this castle, which could help the Minutemen because we currently are only equipped with sticks, very hot guns, and sadness. So they led me around the castle until eventually we discovered the weird cartel tunnels underneath the castle. Down there I discovered wonderful things such as landmines, fungus, and a very large robot named Sarge who wanted to cave my skull in. But after that robot was dealt with, we found a room with a dead body in it who is probably important or something, I don't know. He had a giant case of alcohol though, so I stole all of it. After desecrating that corpse, we then found the armory where there was the beautiful, beautiful blueprints of how to build artillery. We yoinkity-sploinkitied those blueprints and then went outside. Once we got outside, they asked me to build an artillery emplacement directly in the castle. This seemed like a really bad idea, given you don't exactly want your high explosives to be managed by the guy covered in blood and alcohol, but whatever. I did it. I then struggled with the very simple task of just firing the artillery piece, but eventually I figured it out, and then I was allowed to go off and talk to Preston, who then gave me more Minutemen quests. I could describe to you what I did after talking to Preston, but I'm not going to, because what I proceeded to do was spend 5 fucking hours on Minutemen quests. When I started these Minutemen quests, I was level 15. When I finished, I was level 22. That means I got 10,325 XP in 5 fucking hours from Minutemen quests alone. But after all that grind and around 19 minutes into this video, I finally went off and did the first quest of the main storyline. When I walked into Valentine's detective agency, I was expecting a violently British man in a dirty jacket with about 15 cigars safely stowed in his mouth with one pipe in his hand, just in case. But instead I was met with an increasingly rare sight in the wasteland. A woman who doesn't immediately resort to blowing my head off with a shotgun. I walk up to her and ask where the detective is. She then informs me that he has been kidnapped by a bunch of Italian mobsters led by he wishes he was Al Capone. I then get distracted by the caffeinated beverage I was drinking while she was talking and forget to extort her for money. But regardless, I set out for Park Street Station. I arrive, but just before I go in, I must do one thing. Who the fuck is talking? Is that fucking Hatsune Miku?
Slaughter them all like pigs.
I bet. I wake up from my murderous rage, disoriented and covered in blood, piss, and alcohol, sitting on a balcony with one strange British man that I think I saved, who asks me to go get a key from the mayor. I of course then sprint directly into the mayor's office and very kindly ask for the key. After some convincing, he hands it over and I run back to the little house. Now with key in hand, we break into Kellogg's house and start stealing everything in sight. While I'm stealing more Nuka-Cola than anyone should ever own, Nick holds up a cigar, says my sleeper agent activation phrase, and then I suddenly get a mental image of exactly where Kellogg is. I of course then drop to all fours and run several kilometers out into the wilderness to Fort Hagen. Immediately upon arrival, multiple machine gun turrets start trying to shoot me to death where I stand, but they are no match because I just casually rip apart metal with my bare hands. I eventually find the entrance to Fort Hagen, rip it open, and inside I find more fucking toasters, which then causes me to fly into a murderous rage, killing every machine in sight, sending me deeper into Fort Hagen with every synth I kill. But eventually, after I presumably stood in front of a camera too long, a voice comes over the intercom.
If it isn't my old friend, the frozen TV dinner.
Kellogg!
It's been a long time, hasn't it, Nate? Last time.
Who the fuck is Nate?
What?
My name is Jerry.
But I was sent to kill someone named Nate. You were in the right cryopod and everything.
Well, I was in the right cryopod because he had number 10 and I really wanted that double-digit, smooth, crisp number. So I bludgeoned him to death in the corner while the scientist wasn't looking and took his pod.
But then why are you after me? I didn't kill your kid. Or your wife, that was just some other guy.
Well, you see, Kellogg, I have a real passion for one thing in particular.
And what would that be?
Fisting. Now following Kellogg's lower... I run back to Diamond City to talk to Nick and Piper about what I just did. I arrive and they tell me that apparently I needed Kellogg alive because he knows things that we needed to know. Well, shit. Fortunately, though, there is a magic woman of science that can read through dead people's memories. Only problem is, we need a piece of Kellogg's gray matter to do that. However, luckily for us, while I was looting Kellogg for all of his stuff, I ended up stealing a bit of his gray matter for a little bit of a snack later. So we're all set and set off to Goodneighbor. Now me, understanding the importance of this meeting, waste 15 minutes buying alcohol. I am a very normal person, so I walk into the memory den half drunk and mostly let Nick do all the talking. This segment is really long and really boring due to all the yapping that's going on, so I just kind of zone out and stare at the wall while Dr. Amari talks. Something about an abusive father and Kellogg having a bad life or something, I don't really care. All I know is that Dr. Amari told me I have to talk to this interesting Vigil character, and he's hiding out in the glowing sea. Now they warned me that the glowing sea is super radioactive and extremely dangerous, so I consult the list of options for how to deal with this. Radiation suit, power armor. Ah, yes. So I buy all the Radaway in Diamond City and run off into the glowing sea, butt-ass naked, with only the single-minded goal of finding Vigil and politely asking him to tell me how to get in the Institute. And after about an hour of walking, I find what appears to be some Mormons worshipping a nuclear bomb. Now me, really confused, really tired, and suffering from stage 37 pancreatic cancer, just walk up to their leader and ask them where Vigil is. They attempt to convert me, but after I threaten them with a gun, they tell me where Vigil is, and they answer, "It's just over the hillside." So I go just over the hillside. I am then greeted by a weird dark cave that smells of gooning and radiation, so of course, I enter.
Who the fuck are you?
A person.
Why are you here?
Because I am.
Are you gonna kill me?
Probably not.
Then what do you want?
To get in the Institute, mostly.
Christ, you're insane, but fine, go kill this guy.
You got it. So with Virgil's new information, I ran off to go find the courser. Now he told me to listen to the classical radio station and pay attention for disturbances to find the courser. So reasonably, I just appeared at Green Tech Genetics and innately knew the courser was here. Now with our fabulous detective work done, it was time to murder every single gunner in this building, consume their bodies with the cannibalism perk I had acquired because it's easy health and I like it, and go upstairs to find the courser executing some hostages. Seeing this absolutely beautiful sight, I ran upstairs and punched the courser in the head before he could even say anything. Now with most of his skull emulsified, I grabbed the chip out of the back of his head and prepare to leave. But then this synth girl starts begging for her life and asking me to free her. Now me being the good Samaritan I am, I go over, grab the code, open the door, and completely and utterly murder them and consume their flesh. Now with that light snack out of the way, I head out of the building and go talk to Dr. Amari. Dr. Amari then told me to go talk to the railroad. The voices in my head told me to kill the railroad, and I decided on being peaceful for once because this conversation is so short I didn't even really have time to decide to kill them. So with the courser chip decoded, I ran halfway across the continent to talk to Virgil. He handed me some blueprints and asked me to grab him some soup. I ran back across the continent to go talk to a homeless man in Sanctuary, and then the homeless man explained how we were going to defy the laws of quantum physics. I then ran back and forth across the Commonwealth so that I could build a teleporter out of toaster ovens and used condom wrappers. But once it was done, I had a foolproof way in and out of the Institute. Now let's see what these sick bastards are up to. Oh. Okay. So I enter the Institute and realize that it resembles the rubber rooms people keep trying to put me in every time I skin a baby alive. But before I can start punching walls and tearing my hair out while screaming to the voices, someone over the intercom directs me to an elevator. And during the elevator ride, they tell me that the Institute is the peak of science, an absolutely beautiful place, a city where the artist should not fear the censor, where the scientist should not be bound by petty morality, where the great would be— oh wait. Wrong game. So the elevator ride ends, and I am brought into a room with a small child in a plexiglass cage. I try to talk to him, but for some reason he seems to think I'm a terrifying individual. I truly cannot understand why he'd be so scared of a homeless man covered in alcohol and blood. But eventually, a strange man enters the room.
Hello, my name is Father. Welcome to the Institute. It's in the wasteland, you know. I really hate this place. There's no Kmart, no Taco Bell. I can't even get a $1.50 Costco hot dog. Like, you kidding me, man? All I want is just go into Costco, look at some guys making some goon jokes over some guy's dead brother. Like, I just want to go outside without having to deal with some goddamn robot trying to blow a hole in me. Like what do I look like to you, Tupac? No, man. I'm ready to go home. I want to go to bed. I'm feeling a little bit tired, man. I
So I may have gotten bored of the old man's rambling and beat him up and killed him. So with me having killed Father, and also like half of the Institute, war is declared and I head home to Sanctuary. Upon me getting home to Sanctuary, I head to the Glowing Sea because I got Virgil some soup he asked for. He really seems to think it will cure his skin condition, but who am I to judge him? So I head back to Sanctuary and am informed that apparently an army of synths is marching towards the castle. Uh-oh. I rush to the castle and am told to build some defenses. They're kinda shit and held together by paper clips and rubber bands, but maybe they'll help repel the attack. Then right as I finish building, they arrive. Now to most, this battle was a crushing defeat due to the fact we lost thousands of men just to repel this attack. However, none of those men were me, so I don't care. But with this absolutely unprovoked and definitely not justified attack, we need to gear up and bring the fight to the Institute. Now the current working plan is that me and a handful of Minutemen will teleport into the Institute and will fight our way to the nuclear reactor powering the entire Institute. Then we'll make the reactor go critical, killing everyone inside the Institute. But before we reenact Hiroshima, we gotta do a little bit of preparation. I go dust off some power armor I found 20 hours ago, buy all the alcohol in Goodneighbor, and finish off by buying all of the drugs in Diamond City. But once all that's done, I talk to Sturgis about the plan and set out for the Institute. Now you may be wondering how the hell we're gonna get into the Institute, because previously we were told the only route in is through quantum tunneling, but apparently after we broke into their house and murdered their leader, they decided to shut off the quantum tunneling gateway. But turns out we didn't need to do any of that quantum tunneling anyway, because there's apparently just a sewage pipe that leads straight into the Institute. So donned in my shiny power armor, I start the hike through 12 miles of feces. So after 3 hours of walking and a few mild altercations with a mother of rodents, a couple old people, and some sewage workers made of circuit boards, we made it to the Institute. Now that I'm inside, I punch the computer terminal and beam in a couple of the Minutemen. Preston re-explains the plan to me and asks me not to murder any civilians. I don't think he understands who he's working with. Now after our little rendezvous, we head through a dark hallway and arrive in the biological research area. Now you'd think the synths patrolling the area would have been the big threat, but no. It was the fucking gorillas, because at first, I thought, seeing as we share so much in common, we could be friends, until they suddenly started beating me and trying to tear my skin off. Now personally, I don't like getting the same treatment as a 4-year-old in a gorilla pit in the Cincinnati Zoo. So with the power of these fists, this power armor, and a lot of drugs, I send these gorillas to go join Harambe in Valhalla. Now that the biological research area has been dealt with, I head to the main atrium, where I waste no time in ignoring all of the synths and murdering as many defenseless scientists as I can before they can flee. After all these dangerous scientists have been dealt with, I'm sent upstairs to go deactivate some security protocols. This is also where I'm expected to give the evacuation order, but
No.
So after shutting down security, I go join the Minutemen in the advanced systems area. This is where I learn that I can heavy attack. Yes, there has been about 21 hours of gameplay before this. I am just now learning I can. So with this new knowledge, I promptly accidentally punch Preston Garvey in the back of the head so hard that he becomes concussed for like 30 seconds. But after Preston recovers from his brain injuries, we finally descend down to the reactor area. This is where I chug all of my alcohol and take the last of my remaining drugs, and fight my way to the reactor core. I make it up the scaffolding and rip the door off of the reactor core, and manage to slam down the pulse charge. Then immediately we are teleported to the main entrance of the Institute once more. Then some random fucking kid comes and asks if he can join us and leave the Institute. I tell him to fuck off. Then I give the order to Sturgis to turn on the teleporter, and like any true hero, walk onto the teleporter platform while a child begs for their life in the background. Then, atop the mass fusion building, I'm told that if I poke this button, it will make the entire institute go nuclear. Then sitting here, with a nuclear bomb in the palm of my hand, I think about the lives that will be lost, the tech destroyed, the hope I immediately push the button. Then as the bomb goes off, and the institute goes up in flames, and the screen fades to black, I realize that I just beat Fallout 4 using only my fists. Oh yeah, and one last thing. No better end to the Fister's story there could have been. Thank you all so much for watching this video. It means a whole lot to me that you watched through to the end, particularly because this is a bit of a long haul video. Hopefully the next video won't require me getting in a 7-month-long battle with my sleep paralysis demon like this one did, but who knows. And special thanks to a YouTuber who wants to remain anonymous, but he was the voice of Father, so I guess if you recognize his voice, go tell him we know. Anyway, I've been talking way too long and you're probably sick of hearing my voice by this point, so please like and subscribe, maybe. Please. Please, I beg.